Queen are an odd band to be so beloved by the British people. They were endlessly posh, wrote extremely camp, complex songs about murderous escorts, bicycle races, and tigers defying the laws of gravity, referencing in equal parts heavy metal, musical, and opera. And it goes without saying that they were fronted by the kind of man that conservative governments would want you to be scared of, a self-possessed, queer person of colour. And yet their first greatest hits is the best-selling UK album of all time. Everyone of working age knows every single word of Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's their songs that will echo across the nation's football stadiums, forevermore. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. By the release of their fifth album, December 1976's A Day at the Races, Queen had become a significantly big band, comparable only to Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, and The Who. The difference being they had achieved their position in less than 3.5 years. Their career had seen a gradual rise in sales and ambition, moving from being complete unknowns with a trade in Tolkien-esque prog pop on their self-titled LP, and its chess-coded sequel. To the screaming hard rock with harmonies and musical diversions of sheer heart attack.
That Leroy Brown, bring back, gotta bring that Leroy Brown.
And they were collecting hits along the way.
Fastidious and precise, she's a killer queen, gunpowder eternity.
But the real gear shift was November 1975's A Night at the Opera. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker, its undeniable pinnacle is Freddie Mercury's ambitious 6-minute metal operetta, Bohemian Rhapsody, a UK #1 for 9 weeks.
He's just a poor boy from a poor family, sparing his life from this monstrosity.
But the album crammed in varied contributions from all its members. Mercury's pre-war pop,
I'm bound to be proposing on a Saturday night, leaning on a Sunday.
guitarist Brian May's noble attempt to be Paul McCartney,
Take your hand in the land that our grandchildren knew.
bassist John Deacon's sweet ode to his wife, and drummer Roger Taylor's sweet ode to his car. It was their first UK #1 album, and due to a switch in management, the first album where the band actually made money. When A Day at the Races was released 13 months later, it seemed like a bit more of the same, not helped by the fact that it too was named after a Marx Brothers film, its sleeve the dark inverse of their previous LP. This time self-produced, it was still stuffed with ambitious, grandiose, hard rock flavoured pop, with Mercury's tracks often distorted mirror flips of their At the Opera cousins. Bohemian Rhapsody became the Millionaire Waltz. Love of My Life has a cousin in You Take My Breath Away.
What it means to me. Take my breath away.
And opera's musical fancies were condensed down into good old-fashioned Loverboy.
Ooh, let me feel your heartbeat. Grow faster, faster.
Its centerpiece and biggest hit was the gospel-dipped Somebody to Love. Advancing their trademark multi-tracked harmonies to create something Aretha Franklin could be proud of. Critically, the album got a bashing in the UK, but that was business as usual for Queen, who were never popular with the British music weeklies. Early in their career, they were seen as glam bandwagoneers, playing a piss-poor version of Black Sabbath. And now they were being marked down for, in the words of Nick Kent, their grand, ultra-narcissistic self-indulgence. Mercury was the main target for their ire, characterizing him as an arrogant fop. As such, he stopped taking interview requests from the British music press midway through 1977, after the NME ran a feature on him with the headline, "Is This Man a Prat?" Sales-wise too, the album was a step down, selling about a third as well as its predecessor. This was a concern, as it not only tripped their continual momentum upwards. A Night at the Opera was at the time the most expensive album ever, and A Day at the Races matched its price tag. Overspending was an issue for the band. As well as Mercury's lavish shopping sprees and hedonistic parties, they purchased an elaborate lighting rig, shaped like a giant crown, and employing the staff to take the whole production on tour cost the band $4,000 per day. As such, Queen were no longer making a profit, playing theatre shows in the UK. In the US, they were stepping up with a clutch of sizable hits, and playing to massive crowds, including 2 nights in a row in December at New York's Madison Square Garden. But despite their catalogue of songs, Mercury's endless charisma, and May's guitar pyrotechnics, crowds were coming away slightly disappointed. Simply, songs like Bohemian Rhapsody and Somebody to Love just could not be achieved live to the level of their studio counterparts. For the former's opera section, they could use a backing tape to disguise a costume change, but the latter just sounded anemic, bolstered by 4 voices rather than the studio-made 100+. It was clear they needed to make a choice as to whether they were a studio band or a live one. Fearful of their career stagnating, they felt they had to make a change. I felt it needed 2 albums to put across the kind of music that we got on A Night at the Opera, and maybe it was a slight progression. Now we've done enough. We've been talking about it, and I feel the Queen-style, well-produced or production sort of albums is over. We've done to death multi-tracked harmonies, and for our own sakes, and for the public's, we want to go on to a different sort of project. And the next album will be that. By 1977, things were shifting culturally for Britain. The New Rose and Anarchy in the UK singles had been released at the tail end of 1976.
I got a feeling inside of me. It's kind of strange, like a stormy sea.
And now there was a new sense that anyone could get up on stage and be in a band. It espoused energy, DIY ethos, and only needing to know 3 chords. In contrast, Queen represented the old ways. They styled themselves as untouchable rock gods, more than proficient with their instruments, composing complex multi-part song structures. They looked antiquated and perhaps excessive in comparison to these young guns, but they also had unwittingly helped force punk into the public spotlight. One of Freddie Mercury's most striking physical attributes was his teeth. Big, bright and bold, they were a point of insecurity for him. He had 4 extra teeth at the back that made them look so prominent. Some, including Mercury himself, have theorized that they were the key to his impressive vocal ability, and it was this superstition that made it so he rarely visited the dentist. I'm approaching the point. On the 1st of December 1976, he had his first appointment in 15 years due to an agonizing toothache. The same day, Queen was supposed to appear on TV on the Today with Bill Grundy show, so had to cancel. In their place, they booked another band, currently on EMI, as replacement.
They're a group called the Sex Pistols, and I'm surrounded now by all of them. Just let us see the Sex Pistols in action.
A couple of uncensored fucks later, and the Sex Pistols were front-page news. Punk had broken containment. And it was amid this musical revolution that Queen, aided by engineer Mike Stone, started work on their 6th album, News of the World. Breaking away from their last 2, it was not named after a Marx Brothers film. Their tentative title, Duck Soup, supposedly vetoed by Groucho. But good sport Marx did offer the band the name of his next film, The Rolling Stones' Greatest Hits. Sessions began in July 1977 at London's Salm East Studios, before later moving 45 minutes east to Wessex Studios. Mercury was the obvious frontman of the 4, but Roger Taylor had 2 tracks he'd been working on. One, the sleazy danceable Fight From the Inside, would end up on the album with very little involvement from the rest of the band, Taylor playing almost everything himself.
You gotta fight for
His other track was Sheer Heart Attack, something he'd been toying with since 1974 for the album of the same name, but now turbocharged and full of bluster, fit for this brave new world.
Well, you're just 17, all you wanna do is disappear.
A delve into the clueless teenage experience. It showed that Taylor could beat the punks at their own game, while also understanding the movement's effect on the band. It gave us a kick up the arse. It was so angry, so different, so outrageous. I mean, the first time I ever saw John Rotten, I was really shocked, because I had never actually seen the whole thing in person. He sort of crystallized the whole punk attitude, and there was no doubt about it. The guy had amazing charisma. At the same time, Queen were recording News of the World at Wessex Studios. The Sex Pistols were down the hall in Studio 2, creating Nevermind the Bollocks. A rock legend has boiled this happenstance down to a confrontation between Mercury and not yet Pistols bassist, Sid Vicious. Vicious wandered into a room where Mercury was at the piano and went, "Hello, Freddie. Have you succeeded at bringing ballet to the masses yet?" A reference to something said in the recent Is This Man a Prat piece, to which Mercury responded, "Ah, Mr. Ferocious, we're trying, dear," before grabbing him and literally throwing the punk out the studio. But even in Mercury's telling of it, it doesn't seem like the significant culture clash that music history would want to portray.
I called Sid Vicious, and I called him Simon Ferocious or something, and he didn't like it at all. And I said, "What are you going to do about it?" And he had all these very well, he was very well marked, So I said, "Did you really, make sure you scratch yourself in the mirror properly today, and tomorrow you're going to get something else?" He hated the fact that I could even speak like that.
Despite the joyful embellishment to this story, for the most part, the meeting of these two bands was quite civil. Brian May and Johnny Rotten chatted about music. Mercury even offered to sing on the album if Rotten would sing on Queen's. Though in awe of Mercury, Rotten rejected the idea, not wanting an association with the old guard to dent his credibility. Sadly, a version of God Save the Queen with a Freddie Mercury feature remains a thrilling what if. Though usually taking up a significant amount of album real estate, on News of the World, Mercury only has 3 tracks. We're the Champions, somber piano ballad closer, My Melancholy Blues,
Headed for that stormy weather soon.
and the very sexual Bump and Grind, Get Down, Make Love.
You say you hungry, I give you meat.
Later covered by 9 Inch Nails. John Deacon matched Taylor with 2 tracks, the inspirational single Spread Your Wings,
Honey, spread your wings and fly away.
and the island vibes with Spanish guitar of Who Needs You.
You come at 7, always trying to keep me hanging round.
May songs make up the rest of the album. I suppose it seems like there's a rule that Freddie and I divide up most of the albums in terms of writing, and give John and Roger 1 song each, the way Beatles albums seem to be planned, as some suggest. John is probably the slowest writer, he's newer to it, but at the same time he's written a hit in America, which I haven't, and that's great. Roger has more material than the group's done, but it's just a question of choosing material to give albums the right balance. There are no hard and fast rules. May's set includes the emotive show tune, All Dead, All Dead. Surprisingly, not the only Queen song about a cat.
All dead, and alone I'm sped.
The stripped down blues jam, Sleeping on the Sidewalk.
Sleeping on the sidewalk, rolling down the road.
And the multi-part, most traditionally Queen song on the album, It's Late.
It's
A very personal song, it's the story of a married man, embroiled in the complicated emotions and morality of infidelity. Its title and the chorus wrestling with the quandary of right woman, wrong time.
It's late, but not too late.
It most likely references an on and off affair May was having with a New Orleans woman known only as Peaches.
And I hardly know your name.
previously name-checked on 1974's Now I'm Here.
I'm safe and sound. Down in the dungeon, these creatures and me.
A less gospy aspect of the song is May implementing tapping hammer-ons on the solo. The same style that Eddie Van Halen would make his name on with Van Halen's debut, released a few months later. Personally inspired by having seen Texas guitarist Rocky Atas, who in turn claimed to have stolen it from ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons. May's own experiments with the technique ended there. It was sort of a double hammer. I was fretting with my left hand, hammering with another finger on the left hand, and then hammering with the right hand as well. It was a problem to do on stage. I found it was a bit too stiff. It's okay if you're sitting down with the guitar. If I persevered with it, it probably would have become second nature. But it wasn't an alleyway which led very far, to my way of thinking. It's a bit gimmicky. So, what will those Queen boys think of next? Hello there, I'm Ash from Trash Theory. If you like my videos and you want to support old school, homegrown music documentaries, then maybe check out my Patreon. There you can watch new videos early and help decide future topics. Thanks, and let's get back to it. On the A Day at the Races tour, Queen were an exercise in musical mastery, still envisioning themselves as a prog group. They wanted their crowds to sit and watch them play their songs as best they could. For the more rocking numbers, maybe they'd get some headbanging. By a similar token, if you want to see Led Zeppelin or The Who, it was a showcase of ability first. According to May, no one was singing along. That just wasn't cool. You were there to watch Robert Plant or Roger Daltrey do their thing. Crowd participation just wasn't the standard for rock bands in the late 70s. If you wanted to scream at a band, you'd go watch the Bay City Rollers. But more and more across Britain, Queen were seeing audiences want to sing along to the point where it was drowning out the venue PA systems. One show at Bingley Hall in Staffordshire, the crowd sang along the whole show, and when the band left the stage, began chanting the Rodgers and Hammerstein tune, You'll Never Walk Alone. A song close to many Brits' hearts because of the version by Jerry and the Pacemakers, and its association with Liverpool FC.
And he'll never walk.
Steve Highway, when you think that this time last year he was playing amateur football, this is Lindsay.
This communal aspect, potentially utilising a full crowd as part of their performance, intrigued both May and Mercury. We Will Rock You was a response to a particular phase in Queen's career, when the audience was becoming a bigger part of the show than we were. They would sing all the songs, and in a place like Bingley Hall, they'd be so vociferous that we'd have to stop the show and let them sing to us. So both Freddie and I thought it would be an interesting experiment to write a song with audience participation specifically in mind. My feeling was that everyone can stamp and clap and sing a simple motif, so We Will Rock You was based on that. May's song follows a 3 ages of man narrative, moving from child to young man to finally old man.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise playing in. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man shouting in. Buddy, you're an old man, poor man, pleading with your eyes.
Each stage beaten down by life.
Got mud on your face, big disgrace. Somebody better put your bag into your place.
Yet overcoming adversity as it circles back around to the chorus's primal chant.
Singing, we will rock you.
It's a simple theme, yet something everyone can relate to. The album version of the track is barely 2 minutes long, and much to Taylor's initial confusion, features no drums. Instead, a barrage of clomping and hand slapping. His mimetic stomp stomp clap martial tattoo came to May in a dream. But the sound he wanted was based on a show they played in Boston Garden in early 1976. The crowd cheering and stomping on its old floorboards for Queen to come back out made this incredible racket, like thunder cracking. He achieved this in the studio with a load of overdubs and jumping up and down. So we stamped on these boards in this old church where we recorded. And it made a good noise, and I thought, stamp here and clap, and we'll build it up 1,000,000 times, so it sounds like a huge audience. I put different delays on each. They're not multiples of each other. And it's not an echo chamber, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and as time goes on, it gets sloppy. So it sounds more and more like an audience that's scattered around. We did that, and then we did the same with the vocals. We pretended to be other people, until it became like a crowd. If you listen closely to the very first stomp stomp clap of We Will Rock You, just in the background is a sigh. Someone already fed up with the physical effort of making this possible. At the same time, Mercury wrote We Are the Champions, a defiant and unifying anthem of triumph. Its verses focus on the journey, the climb. The dues paying, and slings and arrows.
You brought me fame and fortune, everything that goes with it. I thank you all.
The jump to the chorus is soaringly positive. Pretty much the definitive sound of victory. It simply conveys we have won. Nothing else matters. So it makes sense that Mercury saw it as an evolution of British sports chants. I was thinking about football when I wrote it. I wanted a participation song, something the fans could latch onto. It was aimed at the masses. I thought we'd see how they took it. It worked a treat. When we performed it at a private concert in London, the fans actually broke into a football chant between numbers. Of course, I've given it a more theatrical subtlety than an ordinary football chant. You know me. But who are intended as the friends and the losers was up for debate. Given his skirmishes with the music press, they saw the song as an arrogant middle finger directed their way, not helped by the fact that the No Time for Losers line has the same cadence as a playground taunt. But the we in both songs is important. Despite what their detractors say, it symbolizes unity and inclusivity. Certainly it's a very egocentric song. We thought, well, maybe, but sod it. But really, you know, it's meant to be a collective we, meaning us, the audience, whoever's listening. It's not meant to say we are the best fucking group, so up you. More a sort of general bonhomie, a let's all rejoice feeling. May's squealing lyrical guitar at the end was a late addition. This again was a departure from the Queen of before, a band that thrilled in order. The ballad section, then the solo, then the opera, then hard rock. Here the guitar solo waits until the end, dueling and fighting against Mercury's vocal. The champions, we are the champions. A decision made by May, who wanted it to come out of nowhere. All in, News of the World was a more stripped down affair, and took a relatively trim 10 weeks to record, compared to A Day at the Races' 4 months. Released the last week of October 1977, the album entered the UK charts at number 28, moving up to number 4 the week after. Never Mind the Bollocks, out the same week, was number 1 its first 2 weeks of release. What can be said? It was the year of punk. In the UK, We Are the Champions was released as a single, We Will Rock You as the B-side, and it got to number 2 where it stayed for 3 weeks, behind a combination of ABBA and Wings.
So I wanna know, what's the name of the game? What's mine and
In the US, it hit number 4, but in France, they were obsessed with these songs. We Are the Champions was number 1 for 12 weeks, the longest span a song is allowed to top their national charts, at which point it was supplanted by We Will Rock You, and number 1 also for 12 weeks. News of the World was a turning point for Queen. It was their biggest seller thus far in the States, ending up going 4 times platinum. They were connecting with audiences in a more significant way. And from this point, they started playing bigger and bigger venues, pretty much writing the rulebook for being a stadium rock band moving into the 80s. But the reviews never got any better, despite trying to foster this relationship with their audience, making them part of their show. Rolling Stone's Dave Marsh wasn't having it. Do you like jazz? Because he sure didn't.
Stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time.
Whatever its claims, Queen isn't just here to entertain. This group has come to make it clear exactly who is superior and who is inferior. Its anthem, We Will Rock You, is a marching order. You will not rock us, we will rock you. Indeed, Queen may be the first truly fascist rock band. The whole thing makes me wonder why anyone would indulge these creeps and their polluting ideas. Queen remained a band of the people rather than a critical darling. By the Game Tour of South America in 1981, they played 2 shows in Sao Paulo, Brazil, that are still ranked in the top 30 highest attended concerts of all time. 250,000 people over those 2 dates. Though both Another One Bites the Dust and Crazy Little Thing Called Love were US Billboard #1s.
Another one bites the dust.
Their fortunes in the US soon tailed off. Their experiments with disco, the cross-dressing in the I Want to Break Free music video, and Mercury's now more outwardly camp look didn't go over too well with Middle America. But then, up to a certain point, his band was clueless about his sexuality too. It was only very much later that we realized there was anything else going on with Freddie. I mean, much, much later. We're on tour in the States. I don't even know what date that would have been, but on some fairly big tour. And suddenly he's got boys following him into the hotel room instead of girls. We're thinking, and that's about the extent of it. Even then, obviously, it was never a problem. I always had plenty of gay friends. I just didn't realize that Freddie was one of them until much later. The 80s aligned with some lows from Queen. Their soundtrack for Flash Gordon, while fun and supposedly the first rock movie score, was their worst selling album. While it went gold in the UK, it wasn't even certified in the US. Despite featuring the Bowie collaboration Under Pressure, 1982's synth-funk exercise Hot Space is considered perhaps their worst album, then undoubtedly the worst decision of the lot. In 1984 they broke a British Musician Union boycott that had been in place since 1961 and played 8 shows in Sun City in apartheid-era South Africa. A year later, Steve Van Zandt, Bruce Springsteen, and some big-name friends wrote a song about why that was a bad choice. They would toy with other crowd-focused anthems. The clap and chant of Roger Taylor's Radio Gaga from 1984, so instantly repeatable that Stephanie Germanato took its name for herself. But their 1977 double instantly became staples at sporting events. Billboard ranking We Will Rock You as the best jock jam ever. Its Spartan rhythm will no doubt outlive rock music itself. Though We Will Rock You was only a B-side in the UK, it eventually, post-Freddie, became a #1 single after May and Taylor covered the track with British boy band 5 in 2000. Other places that the track featured include the outlandishly successful Ben Elton-penned Queen musical of the same name, the medieval comedy A Knight's Tale, and as a sample on Jay Kwan's Tipsy. Influence-wise, there's a smattering of bands that similarly joined campness, complexity, and rock music in Queen's image. It could be argued, and Metallica do argue, that Mayhelmed guitar workouts like Ogre Battle and Stone Cold Crazy forewarned thrash metal. But really, anyone playing massive venues with guitars in tow that get the crowd involved owe a lot to Queen. Whether that's Robbie Williams, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, Green Day, Foo Fighters, or Oasis, We Will Rock You and We're the Champions never left their setlist, merely stepping up from main set closers to the end of their encore. And it makes sense. Why finish with anything else when you have We're the Champions in your arsenal? On the record, the song ends on an ambiguous note. Mercury not finishing the final line, the bravado lost as it bleeds out. What is missing is quite obvious when you watch their live performances. It's the crowd singing along as intended, like that night at Bingley Hall, and every night after, and especially when Queen played Live Aid in 1985. What might have seemed like 1.9 billion people singing their words back at them. In that moment, undoubtedly, they were the champions. Thanks for watching. So what is your favourite jock jam written by an LGBTQ+ artist? Comment down below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and why don't you share it with a couple of people? It really does help. As always, I'd like to shout out this month's new top tier supporters over on Patreon. Bill Kurtner, Angela Megado, Cassia Grishi, and Grey Area. And thanks to everyone else that supports me. And I'll see you next time, where I will be doing the REM sequel. That is unless I don't. Find out next time.